The gentle hum of the ship's environmental systems was the only sound in the private quarters. The man floated in a state of suspended animation, his features calm under the soft blue glow of the stasis field. His name was Leo, a botanist assigned to a deep space survey mission. His last memory was of checking the nutrient solutions for the seedling trays, then the cool mist of the sleep inducer taking him. It was a routine cycle, one of many on the long voyage. He awoke to warmth. It was not the clinical chill of the revival chamber, but a pervasive, gentle heat like sunlight on stone. The surface beneath him was not a gel pad, but something firm yet yielding, textured like polished fossilized wood. He opened his eyes to a vaulted ceiling of interwoven iridescent chitin, from which hung soft, pulsing bioluminescent globes. Panic, cold and sharp, tried to rise. He suppressed it, his training kicking in. He was in his shipsuit, but his boots were gone. He sat up slowly. The room was vast, organic. It seemed grown rather than built. The air carried a scent of ozone and something else, a faint, pleasant aroma like amber and cinnamon. And he was not alone. Across the spacious chamber, seated on a raised dais that resembled a giant, opened lotus made of shell substance, was a being. She was tall, even-seated, and elegantly articulated. Her form was bipedal, humanoid in basic shape, but that was where familiarity ended. Her skin had the lustrous, deep blue-gray quality of a twilight sky, traced with subtle, silver bioluminescent patterns that flickered like slow lightning. A crest of flexible, cartilage-like spines arched back from her forehead, shimmering with opalescent hints of color. Her eyes were large, fully black, but scattered with points of silver light like distant galaxies. She regarded him with a calm, unblinking intensity. "Awakening is complete," she said. Her voice was not heard through the air, but formed directly in his mind, a resonant, multi-tonal hum that carried both warmth and immense gravity. "Be at peace, consort. The long, cold sleep is over." Leo stood, his legs steady to his own surprise. "Consort? There's a mistake. I am Leo, a human botanist from the survey vessel Ezer's Pioneer. My ship? Where is my ship?" The small craft of metal and noise entered our nesting nebula, the Queen's thought voice intoned. "It was damaged, adrift. We read one life sign, fading in the endless sleep. To retrieve you was a simple mercy. To integrate your biological pattern into the royal weave was a necessary act. Integrate?" Leo's mind raced. What weave? What was necessary? "Continuity," she replied, as if it were the most obvious truth in the universe. "A queen cannot rule a hive ship alone. The royal genetic line requires renewal, a blending. Your species pattern is resilient, adaptive. Your solitary sleep state was a silent petition. We answered. You are now woven to the weave. You are now wed to the continuity." Wed, the word landed in his mind with the weight of a planet. He looked at his own hands, then at her. There were no rings, no ceremonies. But as she spoke, he felt a faint awareness at the edge of his consciousness. Not thoughts, but presences. A hum of countless lives, orderly and purposeful, and at its center, a brilliant, quiet star. "It was not a choice given," he said, his voice tight. "You took my autonomy." "We preserved your existence," she corrected, her galactic eyes watching him. "Choice is a function of opportunity. You had none. We acted to preserve a unique biological thread. Your culture places value on consent. Ours places supreme value on continuity and the preservation of worthy life. The paradigms are incompatible. Yet here we are, woven. Days passed, though the concept of day was meaningless aboard the living hive ship. Leo was given freedom to move through vast, arterial corridors, gardens of fungi that glowed in mesmerizing patterns, and observation blisters that looked out upon the cosmic nursery of the nebula. He saw his own ship, a tiny, scarred metal pod docked in a chamber of hardened resin. It was intact, but dormant. The hive was a symphony of silent, coordinated labor. The drones, insectoid and elegant, moved with a purpose he envied. They tended the organic systems, processed asteroids for minerals, and communicated via flickers of light and subtle pheromones. He was an anomaly, a slow-moving, independent-minded creature they politely avoided. He began to tend a small, neglected alcove where a few foreign plants from captured ships had been placed, struggling in the unfamiliar biology of the ship's soil. Using his kit from the Pioneer, which the drones had faithfully retrieved, he tested substrates, adjusted nutrient solutions from recycled waste, and rigged a light system using spare parts. It was a piece of home, an act of defiance in biochemistry, the Queen observed. She would stand at the entrance to the alcove for hours, motionless, her mind a silent beacon. He could feel her attention like a soft pressure. "Why do you do this?" Her voice finally echoed in his mind one day as he pruned a leafy fern from a world called Viridia. "Because they are alive," he said aloud, not turning. "And they are struggling. They need the right conditions to thrive. They are not of the hive. They serve no function." "Not everything needs to function," Leo replied, carefully watering the roots. "They have beauty. They have a right to exist, just as they are. Forcing them to live in conditions not their own is a slow death." The silence from her was profound. He felt a ripple in the edge of that shared awareness, a flicker of something like contemplation. Later, a crisis came. A section of the hive ship's outer hull, a massive photosynthetic membrane that converted nebula gases into energy, was failing. A corrosive spore cloud, unseen in the nebula's dust, was eating at the living tissue. The drone's remedies were ineffective. Their biochemistry was compatible, but uncreative. They could repair, but not innovate. The ship was slowly being poisoned. Leo felt the distress through the weave, a sharp, discordant pain. He found the Queen on the command dais, her silver patterns flickering erratically. The galaxy in her eyes seemed dim. "The membrane is part of the central nervous system." Her thought voice was strained. "We cannot isolate the necrosis. It will reach the core ganglia. The continuity is threatened." Leo looked at the schematica drone projected via bioluminescence. It was a massive, interconnected system, like a leaf blighted by fungus. His mind, trained to see patterns in growth and decay, saw it not as a ship, but as a plant under attack. "Your solutions are self-similar," he said suddenly. "You're trying to fight a foreign biology with your own. You need an opposite." He requested his botanical kit and was taken to a sealed lab. He took samples of the corrosive spores, then samples of the healthy membrane. He analyzed them not as an engineer, but as an ecologist. The spores thrived in the alkaline environment of the hive ship's exterior. They needed it. What if we change the environment? He mused aloud. Make it inhospitable to them, but one your tissue can tolerate for a short time? Using compounds from his own stores and from the ship's fungal gardens, he formulated a biocompatible acidic gel. It was a theory, a desperate gamble. The drones, under the Queen's silent order, followed his instructions. They sprayed the vast, ailing membrane with his creation. For hours, there was no change. Then, the corrosive advance halted. The foreign spores, unable to tolerate the shift, died and sloughed away. The living membrane, though wounded, began to slowly regenerate. Aided by drone-applied hormonal paste, Leo helped devise. The discordant pain in the weave softened, then faded into a warm, grateful hum. Leo stood in the observation blister, exhausted, watching the drones celebrate by performing intricate, swirling flight patterns. She came to stand beside him. Her presence was no longer just a pressure, but a warmth. You fought not with weapons, but with a change of ground, her voice echoed, full of wonder. You saved the continuity not by being of the hive, but by being steadfastly other. You gave the struggling thing the right conditions to thrive. He looked at her, truly looked. The alien monarch who had, in her own context, saved him, who had bound him without asking, who ruled a civilization and yet had listened to a gardener. Consent, Leo said softly. It's not just about the first choice. It's about the choices that come after. The galaxy in her eyes swirled. We understand. The weaving was our choice. To remain woven must be ours together. He thought of his ship, waiting. Of Earth, impossibly far. Then he thought of the alcove garden, now flourishing under the care of two curious drones he had taught. He thought of the silent symphony of the hive, which he was beginning to appreciate. He felt the warm, brilliant star of her mind, no longer just an awareness, but a presence he had come to respect. I cannot speak for my whole species, he said, but humanity's strength isn't just in independence. It's in connection, even strange, unexpected ones. He placed his hand, palm flat, on the organic wall of the blister. After a moment, she mirrored the gesture, her long, elegant fingers resting beside his, not touching, but sharing the same space. Then let us learn, her thought voice whispered. Just to him, what new things may grow from this blended soil. Outside, the nebula blazed with newborn stars, and the hive ship, healed and whole, turned gently towards the uncharted dark.